Hello everyone, welcome to Planet Geology. Now in this video we will be discussing a question which appeared in this year's Indian Forest Services mains examination in geology optional. So this question left students a little confused. The question says or asks you to discuss the methods or the steps which you can use to calculate the depth of a fold and then enlist assumptions that are made in that calculation. So it was a little confusing because many students don't know what exactly is depth of fold. Some of the students confused it with amplitude. So depth of a fold is not amplitude, and in this video we will discuss the first part of the question, that is how can you calculate the depth of a fold. If you want to know the assumptions, please click on the link that is given in the description where all the assumptions have been listed out. I would also ask you to please subscribe to our YouTube channel if you are UPSC aspirant, as we keep on uploading videos that are relevant to the exam material as well as material related to geology optional. So going to the calculation part or to the answer part. So first part of the question is you need to understand what exactly do you mean by depth of a fold, because as I told, depth of a fold is not amplitude of a fold. So to understand that, we need to understand two main concepts. The first is what is a detachment. Okay, you need to understand that, and then you also need to know one of the mechanics of folding. So there are different mechanics, but one of them which is basically due to compression or shortening. So before we answer that question, this is something that you need to understand. So what exactly is a detachment? So detachment, you can think of it just as the name suggests. It's a fault or a plane at the base of a folded sequence. And below that detachment, the layers are not folded, they are not deformed. Whereas above the detachment, the layers will be deformed. Okay, so if you have a folded sequence, sedimentary sequence, usually it's present in case of sedimentary rocks. So if this is my detachment, so the rock layers on top of this detachment, they will be folded, whereas the rocks below this detachment, so if I have rocks over there, so they will not be folded. Okay, so this is what we mean by detachment. So this is called detachment. Okay, now another thing that we have is we usually have a regional reference line. We need to define a reference from which we can measure the depth. Also sometimes you can call it the datum. So if this is my, let's say, regional reference line, it could be sea level or any other datum in the region. So this I will call the datum. So depth of a fold is basically this distance from the datum, the reference line which we have chosen, to the detachment. So this is the depth of the fold. Now there are some other names for this term depth of a fold. Sometimes you may hear depth to detachment, okay, or depth of folding. So it can be referred to by different names. So that's something you need to understand. The same question can be asked in future exams where they may say like, how would you calculate depth to detachment? So now that you understand what is depth of a fold, so we'll move on to the next part of the question, that is you have to discuss how you can calculate the depth of a fold. For that we need to understand this mechanics. So one thing that you need to understand is how this folded sequence can form. So the assumption here is that you have that original undeformed sequence and you compress it. Let me fix this side, and you compress it on this side. So what will happen is it will get folded like this. Okay, so let's keep that. So it will get folded due to compression. Let's say this was this original length. So you have compressed it in this direction. So what this compression has done, so compress it in this direction, and you will get the layers will be shortened in the direction of compression, and you will get a folded sequence on top. Okay, and you have to find the depth of that fold. So now you understand the question. So let's go on and see how you can calculate the depth to detachment. I'll erase this part. Yes, so now coming on to the second part, that is how do you calculate depth to detachment, or depth of folding. So what I will do here is, first of all, I'll draw the figure. I will draw the final figure here. So, and also I'll draw the initial one. So at the start, let's assume between these two lines, okay, so this is my detachment here, and this is my reference level. Okay, this is the original length L0. Okay, this is the original length L0 of these rock layers, and there is actually these rock layers in here. Okay, so these rock layers are there, that is the original depth. So now what I'll do is I will compress these layer of rocks. So this is the bed, the black one is the bed we are interested in. Okay, this is the bed we are interested in. So this was the original sequence. Now this was present in the past, it's not present in the present day. So in the present day, what we have, these rock sequences have gotten folded. We don't know, we cannot observe this part, but this is something that conceptually would have been there, because initially when the rocks were not deformed, everything is deposited horizontally. That's one of the main principles that you study in geology, that principle of original horizontality. Everything was deposited horizontally, it was undeformed, and then a deformation event came and then folded this sequence. So in the next step, what happened was this sequence got folded, as I explained in the previous step. So you got some compression. So I will again draw that reference level. Let's keep it the same. So you will see this come up in one of the assumptions, that reference level is parallel to the datum, or this bed is also, the black one is parallel to the datum. So what will happen is, after you compress it, it will become like this. Okay, so it will become folded. You may see something like a mountain kind of thing. Okay, so this is the sequence. So everything in the first case that you see here, these rock layers, they have gotten folded. So this sequence in here is now present here. Okay, and what do you have in here, over here, this part, this is the gap which you have created. So this is the gap which you have created. This is the gap, and let's call this gap area as S, surface area S. So let's say this gap has area S. So the method that we will use to calculate depth to detachment, so what will be the depth to detachment of this fold? So depth to detachment will still be this one. So this here is depth to detachment H, that I will call H. Okay, this is the displacement which has taken place. Let's call it D. D is the displacement. So just remember this part. Okay, and what the method that we will use to calculate depth of fold, so I will write the name of that method. So the method is called excess area method. So the name of the method is excess area method. So that is the name of the method which we use to calculate the depth to detachment. Now what this excess area method assumes is that whatever area you have gotten shortened here due to displacement, and is equal to the excess area that you have within the rock layers now. Okay, so the excess area that I'm talking about is this one, which is above the datum. So this is the excess area. Okay, so this excess area which you have in here again is also equal to S. So these two areas are equal. So that is the main principle behind the excess area method, and it's also one of the assumptions that you'll see when you enlist the assumptions. This will be one of the assumptions. So how do you actually calculate it from here? So you just what you do is you equate these two areas. S equals to this area over here, and this area, this is basically a rectangle. with one side equals to D and another side equals to H. So the area S here is basically D into H. So these two areas are equal. So let me just call it S prime. Okay, so that I can differentiate here these terms. Okay, so S equals to S prime, and we know S prime is equal to D into H. Okay, so this is the area that we will use. Now the thing is, usually because this is exposed area, so you may be able to calculate this S over here. So this will be possible to calculate this. For us, we do not actually know D. Okay, so how do you calculate D? It's very simple. So you know the original length L0. Okay, so this is the original length. Let me use the shortened length also. So here I will put on the shortened length, which is basically, let's call it L1. Okay, and how will you measure L0? Again, you may have question, how will you measure L0? Because L0 was the original length and you do not know this area, but what you can do is you can measure the length along this actual folded surface. So what you can do is you can measure along this actual folded surface this length. This will also be equal to L0. Okay, so this whole thing from here to here is L0, which is now folded, and you can measure the length along that fold, the distance along the fold. So here you can see that D is basically equal to L0 minus L1. Okay, and then you substitute D in that equation, you'll get S equals to L0 minus L1 H, which implies that H equals to S over L0 minus L1. And this is your final answer. So it's as simple as that. So this is what you'll call depth of the fold, how you determine the depth of a fold. So you use this formula to determine depth of a fold. Now there are many assumptions which are involved in this calculation. For example, this the bed that you are taking is parallel to the detachment, area remains constant, no material is added or removed. So there are 5 assumptions in total. So you can actually check those assumptions by clicking on the link that is given in the description. Now this is the final thing that we get. Okay, some people these days, they are trying to improve it so that, for example, you can get rid of the terms these L0 and L1 altogether. So what you can do is actually, instead of calculating this area for just one bed, you can calculate excess area for multiple beds. So what you can have is, in this figure, for example, what you have in here, you can calculate this area for, let's say this is one of the beds, it has an excess area. This is second bed which has an excess area. So you can make these calculations for these 2 beds. Okay, so the first one and the second one will have its own excess area. Okay, so you calculate these excess areas in both these cases. So this is for the first one, and similarly you can calculate for the second bed in a sequence. Why we do that? Because you can see here S equals to DH. So you know S equals to DH. Okay, so what you can do is S1 equals to, again, D is or whatever shortening is taking place over there, so it will depend on that shortening. That shortening is fixed. So DH1 S2 equals to DH2. So depth to fold from these different levels or references if you choose for this fold. Okay, and then you actually get a straight line, and then you can use that. But again, if you want to know more about this one, so please again go to the link that is given in the description. So with this we finish this part on the depth of the fold. And as you see, it's not a very difficult answer, but the thing is, many students don't know it. I wouldn't say this is a topic which you will find in any standard book, so it's difficult to actually find it. You can read some research papers on it, and this is one of the questions which appears in UPSC, which I would say, even if you were not able to answer it, don't be too worried. There is always choice, and there will always be questions like this in the examination which you may not be able to answer. Okay, this is from a topic which is called cross-section balancing, and that is not really part of UPSC syllabus, but since folds are part of UPSC syllabus, so that is why they might have given this question. So with this we end this video, and please do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. See you in the next video.